Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be part 2 of reacting to my previous movie reviews and changing them if I feel like it. I did part 1 a little bit ago, either last week or a couple weeks ago, and if you watched that video, you know I had to just pause because I was filming for a really long time. I was starting to get hungry, I was starting to get thirsty, I just overall needed a minute. So this is going to be part 2. So picking up from where we left off, first movie is The Menu. I gave this 6 out of 10 stars, and I think I'm gonna put this up to 7. I really liked this movie, and talking to my brother, who is actually a chef, it actually like made me appreciate this movie a lot more. I feel like some people may not get it at all. Obviously, it's about like a chef. This could transpire to so many different really like intense careers and stuff out there that people think like, oh, you're so successful, you must be so happy, and that's just not the case at all. And it, like I said, especially talking to my brother who is a chef, like he super related to just some of the thoughts of this movie. So I really appreciated it after rethinking it a lot, so I'm gonna give this a 7. Then we have Dr. Sleep, which is of course the sequel to The Shining. I gave this 8 out of 10, and I'm gonna stick with that. I really like this movie. I thought it was a really solid sequel to The Shining and also a really good book adaptation. Dr. Sleep is actually probably my favorite Stephen King book, and this is such a good film. I really liked it, and it's funny because Stephen King has obviously stated many times that he hated The Shining, but he actually did really like Dr. Sleep. So I think that's a win right there. Next we have Cry Wolf, which I gave 4 out of 10 stars. This was fine. I remember thinking that this movie was a lot spookier than it was, and it was just fine. It was kind of silly. Definitely, like, you can tell it's definitely like a 2000s horror movie. It was fine. Then we have Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which I gave 8 out of 10. I'm actually gonna move this up to 9 out of 10. This movie is so freaking good. I have talked about this movie over and over and over again, and this movie is so good and surprised the heck out of me. I was not expecting this movie to be as good as it was, so I'm gonna give this a 9 out of 10. Literally the only thing I'm taking a point away is that I didn't love a lot of the the animation references. Like, I didn't like Puss in Boots doing the like Naruto run. This movie is amazing. It's so good. The villain, the big bad wolf, is so terrifying. Such a good movie. Then we have Evil Under the Sun. I gave this 7 out of 10 stars to. I'm keeping that rating. I liked this movie. Definitely not my favorite Perot film, but still really, really good. Then Richard Jewell, I also gave this 7. I really liked this movie. Incredible cast. Paul Walter Hauser, Kathy Bates, Sam Rockwell, John Hamm, Olivia Wilde. This movie was stacked, and it actually delivered, unlike some other films. This movie was so good, so incredible. I loved it. And then we have Top Gun Maverick. I really don't think I loved this movie as much as like Evil Under the Sun or Richard Jewell, so I think I'm actually going to put this down to 6 out of 10 stars. It is still very, very good. However, the only reason I feel like I really, really rated it as high as I did is because the ending is basically the same ending as Star Wars. Like, let's be honest. Which, I mean, isn't a bad thing because Star Wars is one of my favorite movies. Star Wars is Star Wars, and Top Gun, be your own thing. Then we have Atlantis: The Lost Empire. I gave this 9. This is probably one of my favorite movies. I love this movie. It is so underrated. The only reason this gets 1 less star than being a perfect movie is because the ending has always kind of confused me with just kind of how everything kind of plays out and what happens. So for that reason, it loses 1 single star, but other than that, this movie is so almost perfect. Then we have The Princess and the Frog, 8 out of 10. Keeping this. I love Princess and the Frog. I think it is incredible. I know a lot of people think that Disney kind of came back to how they used to be with Tangled, and although Tangled is incredible, I actually love Princess and the Frog, and I think Princess and the Frog was a really great, like, let's go back to hand-drawn animation kind of a deal. So I love The Princess and the Frog. I think it's amazing. It has one of the most underrated characters ever. Charlotte is the best character in the whole world. So yeah, 8 out of 10. Then we have Strange World, which I gave 6 out of 10 stars to. I'm keeping this. It was a good movie. Not my favorite. Maybe it'll grow on me in a few years or something. But it was still really, really cute and I highly recommend it. Then I have the original animated The Little Mermaid, 9 out of 10 stars. Love this movie. Super cute. Followed by the sequel, Little Mermaid Return to the Sea. I gave this 5 out of 10. It was fine as far as sequels go, but I'm just rewatching it. I was like, this definitely isn't as cute as I remember, and yeah, the original is just incredible. I feel like this is gonna get me a bit of hate. I gave Pinocchio, the Del Toro animated one, 5 out of 10. Here's the thing. I know this won Best Animated, and the animation in it is incredible, but I didn't like the story. Yes, Pinocchio was supposed to be like, kind of act like, I don't know, I guess like a newborn in the sense that he doesn't always know what's right and what's wrong and what you should and shouldn't do. But out of all the Pinocchios in the world, this particular Pinocchio was the most insufferable. I could not stand him. The ending, although I feel like they tried to make it different from the Disney version, was still predictable, and the only thing I liked about it was like the very, very, very end where everything kind of literally came to a close. Like obviously, like when I say predictable, I mean Sebastian Crickett's decision that he makes in this movie was very predictable. The very, very ending was my favorite part of this movie. It was very cute and I loved how it ended, but other than that, it was just fine. The animation is incredible, but does that make the whole movie worth it? I don't think so. Do I think it deserved to win the Oscar? Honestly, not really. Then we have Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. I gave this 5. Rewatching this, the animation is so horrible, especially the like scenes where the eagle is like flying over things. It just looked so bad. It literally looked like you were on like a really cheap simulator ride that you'd go on at like the mall or something. Like it was not very good and it was just fine. I remember thinking this movie was boring and I was kind of bored watching this again. Then we have Lights Out. I love this movie. I gave it 8 out of 10 stars. This is one of my favorite scary movies. I really like it. I love the metaphor of mental health that it has. I love everything that happens in this movie. I think the characters are actually smart horror movie characters, which you never see in horror movies. The one thing I really don't like about this movie that makes it lose points is I didn't like the design of the like creature, especially compared to the Lights Out short. The creature in the short is terrifying, literally kept me awake at night, but the creature that they use in the movie is very just not creepy at all. Like it looks just weird and I didn't like it. I'm not saying that they had to use the exact same design. I think it was good that they changed it because it's obviously a different story. I didn't like how they did it. Then we have Train to Busan, which I gave 9 out of 10 stars to. Here's the thing, I don't like zombie movies. I have yet to find a single zombie movie or TV show that I have liked. I watched the first 3 seasons of Walking Dead and I hated every single second of it. But for the most part, I don't like zombie movies. It's not my favorite genre, but Train to Busan was insanely amazing. If you can handle watching a movie with subtitles, I cannot recommend this movie enough. This is a South Korean film, so it is in Korean, so they have subtitles, but oh my goodness, like if you can watch movies with subtitles, like please watch this movie. It is so good. Then we have Hidden Figures. I also gave this 9 out of 10 stars. I don't know why it took me so long to watch this movie because I love Octavia Spencer. She is one of my favorite actresses in the whole world. She's not even the main character in this movie. It was just on my list to watch this movie because Octavia Spencer is in it. And I'm so mad at myself that I waited so long to watch this because it is so good. Then we have the movie Mass. I gave this 8 out of 10 stars. I actually had a conversation about this movie with Sam very recently because we're going to get to another movie later on in this list. that both of these movies, both Mass and this other movie that I will get to basically at the end of this video, were very dialogue heavy movies. Mass is literally 4 people sitting in a room talking. That's it. That's the whole movie. And I love this movie. It is so good. So there's another movie coming up. I'll talk more about it when we get to it, but people have literally said to me, you just don't like it because you can't handle dialogue heavy movies. It's like, no, because Mass is literally nothing but dialogue, and I think this movie is fantastic. If you can get your hands on Mass, I cannot recommend it enough. It is so good. Very, very heavy subject material. Definitely look at just like a quick summary of this movie before you go into it, because there are some very heavy things in this movie, but if you can handle those things, I couldn't recommend this movie enough. Then we have the Super Mario Brothers movie. I gave this 5 out of 10, and that's just gonna stay. This movie was fine. I wasn't expecting anything incredible going into this movie, but I also wasn't expecting it to be terrible, and it was not terrible, but it was not incredible, so 5 out of 10. It was exactly what I expected it to be. Then we have Wolfwalkers, which is an animated movie on Apple TV. Super, super cute. If you have Apple TV, I cannot recommend it enough. The animation is adorable and amazing. I love it. Then we have the movie Mama, and I gave this 7 out of 10. I think that's a good place for it. It was pretty good. This was actually my first time watching it. I hadn't watched it ever before, and I was actually pretty impressed with it. One thing I really liked about this movie was I really liked how they did at the beginning of this movie. So the beginning of this movie, they basically tell you exactly what you need to know without going too much more into it later in the movie, which I really liked, because there was a part of the movie where I was like, are they going to kind of go into what happened in the beginning anymore at all? And they never did. But when I thought about it, I was like, well, they gave us everything we needed to know, and then we moved on from like that sort of plot of the story, and now we're on the major part. So I feel like if we kind of like stepped away from the main plot of the movie and went back to that, would kind of dampen the main plot of the movie. So I really liked how they just literally gave you everything we needed to know about why this is all happening quickly, easily. They laid it out for us very easily to understand without blatantly telling us everything, and then moved on to the main plot of the movie. And also it was spooky. The main ghoul ghost was quite spooky, and I really liked the design of her. Then we have The Owl House, which is on Disney Plus. It is a Disney Channel original show. When I was posting about how much I loved Amphibia, everybody and their dog told me I need to watch Owl House. To be completely honest with you, I did not like Owl House nearly as much as Amphibia. We watched it through, and I honestly can't really see myself rewatching it in the future. It was still really good, and I really, really liked how they did certain things, but I will say I have no problem watching Amphibia a gazillion times over, and I probably won't watch Owl House again. I know I compare those two a lot, but like, I kind of can't help it when I was talking about Amphibia and every single person ever told me Owl House is way better, you have to watch Owl House, this is the next thing. And then I went into Owl House and I was like, this is not nearly as good as Amphibia. Like, sorry, not sorry. Then we have Straight Outta Compton. I gave this 7 out of 10. This was a good movie. I did not know what to expect going into this movie. This is definitely not something I would ever like look at my shelf of movies and be like, ah yes, this one. Me and Sam both have random wheels on our phone to pick movie nights so that we can try to get as much out of our collection as we have. And so this was a random spin, and I'm really glad we got to it because it was really good and I did enjoy it. This is another one, same thing as Straight Outta Compton. I knew I wanted to watch this similarly to Straight Outta Compton, but I just never got around to it because it's just not something I would ever be like, ah yeah, definitely, let's watch Zero Dark 30. This is a really good movie though. I love Jessica Chastain. She is one of my favorite actresses. I have the biggest girl crush on her. But yeah, love this movie, super good, 7 out of 10. And then we have Peter Pan and Wendy. I gave this 6, but I actually think I'm gonna change this to a 5. I'm only saying that because I compare it to like Strange World, and if I were to pick one of those two, like which one would I watch, I would definitely think I would rewatch Strange World over Peter Pan and Wendy. It was still cute, and I thought the acting was actually like quite good in it, and I really liked the casting choices specifically for Peter, Hook, and Tiger Lily. It just wasn't my favorite live action adaptation of a Disney movie. And then we have North by Northwest. This was one of Sam's random spins. This was a fun movie. I gave it 6 out of 10, and I think that's a good place for it to sit because I don't think I would ever really put it on again, but I did really enjoy watching it, and I'm glad I finally did watch this movie. Then we have Malignant. I gave this 5, and the only place this movie is earning those 5 points is from the beginning of the movie up until the jail cell scene. I liked this movie. I liked where it was going. I liked what was going on. I was super invested, and then the jail cell scene happens, and I know a lot of people love that scene and I just didn't, and from that point on it just went so downhill for me. So it gets 5 points for like getting me really invested and making me really hope it was gonna be good, and then it loses everything from that scene on. And then I have the new live action Little Mermaid. I gave this 8 out of 10. This is actually probably one of my favorite live action adaptations that has come out. My favorite still being Aladdin, but this is probably a close second. I do think I want to start a series on my channel reviewing and talking about Disney animated and live action remakes and just like kind of comparing the two, doing that kind of stuff. And so I'm very excited to start that because I can't wait to rewatch a lot of them. But just like thinking about most of them in my head, this was definitely one of my top adaptations that has come out. Next we have Dead Silence. I gave this 7 out of 10, and I am putting that up to 8 out of 10. I love this movie. I know this movie was not super loved by everyone. I feel like they were expecting a lot more coming from James Wan after Saw, but I loved this movie. I loved it so much so that when Sam and I were in Los Angeles and we went to a like Icons of Darkness museum and they actually had an exhibit of Mary Shaw, I lost my mind. If there was any sequel, prequel, anything that I could personally ask of Hollywood, I would want James Wan to direct a Mary Shaw origin story. I want that so bad because I think that would be incredible. I did see online that they were thinking of doing a sequel and they had started scripting a sequel to Dead Silence, but because it did so poorly in the box office, it was scrapped, and that breaks my heart. Because I don't want a sequel, I want an origin story of Mary Shaw. I think that would be so good. And I like this movie just as much as like Lights Out. Not as much as Sinister, but definitely on par with like Lights Out and everything. And if you are scared of creepy dolls, stay away from this movie because it is swimming in them. But yeah, I'm gonna change this and give this 8 out of 10. And then we have 10 Things I Hate About You. This is a classic. I love this movie, 8 out of 10. And then we have Fiddler on the Roof. This is 6 out of 10. This was a good movie. Similar placing to like Gladiator, Top Gun. It's a good movie. It's a really great movie, but just not anything I would really like reach for on my own. Then we have the new Pixar Elemental movie. I gave this 8 out of 10 and I'm changing this to 9 out of 10. The more and more I think about this movie, the more I really like it. I only got to see it once in the theater and I am literally counting down the days for this to come out on DVD because I loved this movie so much. I thought it was so cute. I'm constantly listening to the one song that came out from it, and the character Wade is just the most adorable character in the whole world, and I love him so much. So I'm putting this up to 9. I loved it so much. I can't wait to rewatch it over and over and over again when I get it on DVD. Then we have Dairy Girls. I gave this 9 out of 10. I love this show. This is such a fun show. If you need something really quick to get through that will make you laugh hysterically, Dairy Girls. It is so good. It is 3 seasons. Each season is literally only like I think 7 episodes, so it's not long at all. Literally the only reason this loses a point is because that's all there is. I need more Dairy Girls because it is just so funny. These characters are hysterical. I loved it. It was very similar to Schitt's Creek in the sense that I think it did end perfectly. And I'm happy it ended because I think any more would have been not good, but at the same time, I loved it and I still want more. Then we have The Haunting of Hill House. I gave this 8 out of 10. Solid show, very good. I loved learning about this after we watched it, and I loved learning like all the symbolism behind it. For example, I loved that each of the Crane children represented a different stage of grief. I thought that was brilliant. I thought it was so cool that they did that. And then on the lines of that, we watched The Haunting of Bly Manor. I gave this 7 only because I just didn't like it as much as Hill House. Like, I could definitely rewatch Hill House many times over, and I feel like it just has like the spook factor, where Bly Manor is still really, really good, and it definitely has a spook or two in there, but after you rewatch it, it's like, this is not a spooky story. And I'm not going to spoil what it actually is because it kind of gives it away, but I was definitely looking for a spook when we went into Bly Manor, and I unfortunately didn't get that. But still very, very, very good. I have Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, 7 out of 10. Great movie, really enjoyed it. Followed by Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I also gave this 7. If I had to pick, Last Crusade is definitely better than Dial of Destiny, but I was actually still very impressed with Dial of Destiny. I have an entire video reviewing that movie, so go check that out if you want to know my very deep thoughts about Dial of Destiny. It's been a while since I've watched Raiders, Temple of Doom, and I have not finished Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but I have heard that Dial of Destiny is definitely better than Crystal Skull, so at least it's got that going for it. Then we have Jury Duty. This is a show on Amazon Prime. This is such a cute show. I thought this was adorable, especially the final episode. I think this would be a fun show to rewatch to kind of like see how things are playing out, knowing how it ends, even though you as the audience are in on like the secret of the show the whole time. I think it'd be fun to rewatch. Really cute show. If you have Amazon Prime, I definitely recommend it. Probably for like most of the last few here that we're getting it, I don't think I'll change my ranking just because the last few ones I posted so long ago, and these ones are all pretty recent, so I don't think most of these are going to change, but we'll go over them anyways. So next one is Barbie, and I gave this a 6 out of 10. This movie, as I showed in the post here, is hilarious. It was so funny. I was laughing the whole time. But other than that, I didn't like it. I hated the ending. I do have a video reviewing this on my channel as well if you want to see that. But I just was very disappointed by this movie. I really don't know what I was expecting, even though it definitely had some really good conversations and stuff about being a woman, things like that. There were certain parts of this movie that felt very, is this how we are portraying certain things, and I didn't like that, and like I said, I hated the ending. Then we have The New Haunted Mansion. Have a video on this too. I really liked this, 8 out of 10 stars. This is definitely like on par with like attraction adaptations as like Jungle Cruise. Definitely not up there with Pirates. Pirates is a league of its own, but also not so far down as like the original Haunted Mansion or Country Bears or Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Still very good, has a great cast, great parts, super funny. I loved it. White Fang, this was another one that we spun randomly on our wheel that probably would never have picked on my own, but I actually liked it, and I actually think I would like rewatch it again just on my own. It was really cute. Super duper young Ethan Hawke, just being amazing. We got some adorable animals and adorable wolves and stuff. The only thing that's sad is obviously like the scene where they're making the dogs fight. That was a sad scene. We don't like that. But other than that, really liked this movie. Followed by Scooby-Doo and the Kiss Rock and Roll Adventure, 3 out of 10. It's silly. Kids might like it. It was just kind of ridiculous. Like even for a Scooby-Doo, like just no. And then this was one that I also spun on my wheel, but I was shocked by it, and I will definitely have to add this like into my rotation of movies I watch regularly, and that is The Absent-Minded Professor. This movie was so good. I really liked it, and it's just like perfect for what it is. It's so great. I loved it. And also, I've said this before, Fred McMurray can literally do no wrong. He's amazing. I love him. So 10 out of 10. Then we have Flight of Dragons, 7 out of 10. This is a fun movie. This was not one I grew up with, but it was one that Sam grew up with. And so him and I watched it together, and he really enjoyed like reliving this movie. And I thought it was pretty good. Definitely not my favorite movie that was like a nostalgia movie for me, but also we'll get to one of those pretty quickly here. Definitely wasn't the worst out of nostalgia movies. So this is the movie that I feel like a lot of people are going to think I'm completely wrong. And this is the movie I was talking about when I brought up Mass, and I said that it is very dialogue heavy, and people are like, oh, you just can't handle dialogue in movie. No, because Mass is very dialogue heavy, and I love that movie, but Oppenheimer was just boring. I didn't like this movie. I gave it 4. It has like an 8 on IMDb, and I just don't get it. Literally, the only scene in this movie I was somewhat excited about was the scene where they ignite the atomic bomb. That was so cool. Other than that, I was bored. This whole movie, it was just so political, and I just couldn't handle it. And they were just name dropping all these scientists. I kind of just felt like it was like Christopher Nolan shoving all these scientists' name in our face as if we're supposed to know them and is supposed to know what they have done for society, and if we don't, then we're stupid because the movie makes no sense unless you know who these scientists are. So cool, thanks Christopher Nolan, as if I didn't already not really like you to begin with. So this is my movie that, even though it is like nostalgia for us, it does not hold anything to me anymore. It was great when I was a kid, and rewatching this as an adult, I'm like, nope, nope. And that is a Little Nemo. I have watched so many movies that I loved when I was a kid that to this day still hold up and are pretty good. Little Nemo was not one of them. And then we watched Daddy's Home, 7 out of 10, so freaking funny. And then also Daddy's Home 2, also I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. These movies are so funny. It takes a lot for me to really, really like a comedy, and these movies were so funny and so good, and I really liked them. 7 out of 10 for these, both of these. And then Sam and I finished watching Star Wars Rebels in preparation for the Ahsoka show, and this is 10 out of 10. I loved this show. I actually can very confidently say that I like it more than the show Clone Wars. I just really loved the characters. I was saying to Sam that for the first season, I was kind of iffy about one character. Season 2 on, I loved literally the whole gang, so much so that I can't even pick like a top 3 of their little gang. I just love all of them so much. If you saw my video reacting to the Ahsoka pilot, you'll know how excited I got seeing like Hera and Sabine in live action. 10 out of 10. And then the final movie on this ranking is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I gave this 6 out of 10. It was fine. Definitely better than other newer Marvel movies that have come out. If you were paying attention, you'll probably realize I didn't have Ant-Man Quantumania because I haven't watched that yet. I have heard it's not good, but also, as you know, I hated Thor Love and Thunder, so anything might be better than that. I hated and loved Rocket's backstory. I want to know Rocket's backstory because he's definitely my favorite out of the Guardians, but it was also terrible and heartbreaking, and I hated every single second of it. That is my entire list of movies I have rated on my Instagram highlight reel. I have already started a new highlight reel to start another 100 movies that I will review. So when that gets up to 100, I will probably do this video again because this was fun and I liked going back over these and like kind of redoing my reviews. Make sure you're following me on Instagram so you can see those reviews as I post them right away. My Instagram is linked down below. Also, if you follow me on TikTok, every once in a while I post just tiny baby reviews of everything I've watched over like a week or a bit span, so definitely make sure you're following me on TikTok too. But that's going to be it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and the last video. If you liked it, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. I post new videos every single Friday and I'd love to have you here. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye everybody.